Channel 4 News at 4 is coming up next. Our top stories today will take you to the royal wedding with details of the prince's pay raise and the gift that the Reagans sent.
Thousands of church members form a human chain around the courthouse today protesting a $30 million judgment in a lawsuit.
Carol Hutchison reports on some remarkable success stories in the war against cancer.
David Horowitz finds a company that still believes the customer is always right and proves it.
5 California men indicted in a plot to sell planes and spare parts to Gaddafi in Libya.
And we'll find out why Max the dog, not pictured here, there he is, was in court today, and we'll tell you what crimes he's accused of.
Cool. Those stories and all the day's news coming up next on the Channel 4 News at 4.
Books cost too much, so I opened Crown Books. Now you'll never have to pay full price again. We have over 10,000 books to choose from. Garrison Keillor's American classic, Lake Wobegon Days, now in paperback, just $2.37. And A Passion for Excellence, Every Business Person's Guide to Better Performance, just $6.57. Crown's one place you can't judge a book by its cover, price. So remember, if you paid full price, you didn't buy it at Crown Books.
Two with onion.
You got it. Hey, you truck! Fujifilm gives you color pictures so true to life, it's a real breakthrough. Fuji's advanced technology has developed ultra-thin color layers unlike any other film in the world. The thinner the layers, the sharper the picture, and the truer the color. Get Fuji high-resolution film and get breakthrough pictures. Fuji 35mm disc and 110.
Flying for business or going to play. Travel is easy the Uniglobe way. We're #1 in travel the Uniglobe way.
Uniglobe, a network of travel professionals united to give the best fares and service going. We're the #1 travel franchise in North America.
We've got a better way. We're #1 in travel the Uniglobe way.
John Beard, Kirstie Wilde, Christopher Nance, weather, Fred Roggin, sports, David Horowitz, fight back, and Carol Hutchison, health. Channel 4 News at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. Millions of TV viewers around the world watched Britain's royal spectacle today, the marriage of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. The two are now the new Duke and Duchess of York. Channel 4 Steve Handelsman is in London and has more on the wedding of the year.
It was as magnificent as we've come to expect British royal weddings to be. Streets full of coaches, cheering crowds. A famous old church decorated like a fairy tale. No one really got a good look at Sarah Ferguson's off-white satin wedding dress until she emerged from her carriage and entered Westminster Abbey. Her groom seemed pleased. As many as 300 million people watched the wedding on television.
I, Sarah Margaret,
take thee, Andrew Albert Christian Edward,
take thee, Andrew Albert Christian Edward,
to my wedded husband.
to my wedded husband.
With this ring,
I thee wed.
I thee wed.
With my body,
With my body,
I thee worship.
I thee worship.
Andrew and Sarah rode side by side for the procession from Westminster. Outside Buckingham Palace later, a huge crowd waited for the traditional royal balcony wedding kiss, and the newlyweds obliged. The new Duke and Duchess of York seemed to enjoy it all immensely, as the British are fond of saying, but they also seemed happy enough to leave all the uproar behind and jet away for a honeymoon on a quiet island. In London, this is Steve Handelsman, Channel 4 News.
and we do know now that they are honeymooning in the Azores. The White House said today that the official U.S. gift to the royal couple was a pair of Steuben crystal marriage goblets. The name Andrew is engraved on one goblet and Sarah's on the other. The President and Mrs. Reagan also gave a gift of Steuben crystal to Prince Charles and Princess Diana when they were married 5 years ago. The minute Prince Andrew got married, he also got an automatic $45,000 a year pay raise. His royal allowance jumped from $30,000 to $75,000. Add to that the salary he gets as a member of the Royal Navy, and the new Duke of York's annual income is now $97,500, which is not bad for a newlywed, would you say?
Not bad at all. In other news this afternoon, hundreds of Scientologists showed up outside the Los Angeles courthouse today to protest a $30 million judgment against the church. Fernell Chapman reports from up in the newsroom. Fernell.
Well, John, the case involves a former church member who sued over church conduct toward him. Some Scientology members were up all night preparing for a big demonstration today. It's been going on in downtown Los Angeles all day long.
They're calling it a crusade for religious freedom.
Religious freedom now!
Religious freedom now! Hundreds of Scientologists encircled the county courthouse where a $30 million judgment was handed down against their church. The judgment was won by a former church member who claims Scientology damaged him emotionally and ruined him financially. Some say the judgment could bankrupt the church.
We are not going to abide by that judgment. And Wallersheim is not going to get one thin dime from the Church of Scientology, that I guarantee you.
Church members have set up a stage and a string of open-air tents where rallies are periodically held. They say their activities are not designed to obstruct justice, but to enforce it.
To deliberately and intentionally attempt to destroy another human being is not protected by our Constitution.
The judgment was won by 37-year-old Larry Wallersheim. He was a Scientologist for more than 10 years. His lawyer says he's been forced to hide from Scientologists ever since the suit was filed 4 years ago.
And it has been frightening.
So even with a new name, he was located?
Yes, he was. A member of the Guardian's office came out to see him. That's their intelligence branch. And used his new name, found him at his new residence. And he'd taken great pains for that not to happen.
Wallersheim is now in seclusion in Northern California. Scientology lawyers say an appeal will be filed, and they're confident that'll be successful. Now back to the studio.
Okay, Fernell, thank you very much. 8-month-old David Kennedy Jr. is in stable condition at a hospital in Denver today, 24 hours after he disappeared from an Orange County facility. The child was brought into the UC Irvine Medical Center by his parents last week. Doctors say the child showed signs of abuse and had a potentially fatal blood clot on his skull. And while his father was visiting him on Monday, little David disappeared. Last night, a woman claiming to be a relative turned the boy over to authority. The child's father, who is still missing, David Kennedy Sr., has been charged with child endangerment. Beverly Jean Ernst was arraigned in Orange County Court today, but not on her charges of causing the deaths of her twin infants who died of heat exposure on Sunday. Bob Navarro reports Ernst was charged today with violating probation.
A distraught Beverly Jean Ernst was shuttled between two courts today as officials fought to keep her in custody while at the same time trying to build a case against her in the death of her babies. Investigators claim that Ernst left her 3-month-old twin babies in the backseat of this car for at least an hour while visiting with her boyfriend. Police believe the twins, a boy and a girl, were exposed to temperatures of at least 130 degrees. But the DA's office feels the case is difficult and hasn't filed charges. So Ernst was taken to court on a probation violation, that is, that she broke the law when she left her babies unattended. It was a move that didn't set well with the public defender.
I just think that it was a means of getting around the 48-hour law, that in other words, they have to file within 48 hours or release her. And the district attorney didn't want to release her.
Judge John McCohen agreed that Ernst violated her probation, a probation that stems from a charge that she assaulted an officer during a scuffle at her mother's house. And the judge ruled she should be held on $5,000 bail. The DA in the case is Wally Wade.
This happened on Sunday. I know that 3 days seems like a lot of time, but you've got a limited number of police officers working on it. We're doing other cases, and we have a lot of witnesses to interview.
Beverly Jean Ernst is due back in court on Friday in connection with her probation violation. And the DA says he hopes to file charges against her in connection with the death of her babies in about a week. Bob Navarro, Channel 4 News, Orange County.
New aftershocks near Bishop today. The biggest registered 4.5 on the Richter scale and happened about 8:40 this morning. No injuries nor additional damage were reported. Folks in Bishop are still cleaning up from a 6.1 earthquake early Monday and 1,000 aftershocks since then. They were also cleaning up in the desert today following some flash floods yesterday and last night. Scattered cloudbursts caused problems in the Palm Desert and Rancho Mirage area. The possibility of more thunderstorms hangs over the area right now, and today there was even a sudden hailstorm. There it is now. This surprise downpour came in the San Gorgonio Pass. The biggest problem from the storms has been damage to roads. Several flooded roads and streets have been closed all day, including the one that crosses Whitewater Wash in the middle of Palm Desert. Portable pumps are at work trying to move the water out of the low-lying areas. About a quarter-mile section of newly laid sidewalks and gutters undermined near Palm Desert High School today. Flooding caused the earth to buckle and the concrete just fell in. Earth movers and bulldozers were needed to begin the repair work there. Several hundred sandbags distributed to homeowners in the area, but there has been no major damage to any houses reported to us. Night people in Southern California got a rare treat last night, a lightning and thunder show, which produced some good and some bad. The rain helped bring the brush fires in Angeles National Forest closer to control, but the lightning started at least 13 other small fires. The lightning also left about 75,000 homes and businesses without any power, but most of them in northern Orange County and southeast LA County had their power turned back on within a couple of hours. It's exciting. Did you see that?
No, I missed that last night.
Well.
But you know, coming up next, Christopher Nance will be here to tell us there may be more of that rumbling tonight that woke up a lot of people last night.
Well, it woke me up. And we'll tell you why Johnny Carson will lock his desk the next time he goes on vacation, and why Sarah Ferguson isn't Sarah anymore.
Fill that summer vacancy with a responsible employee who's eager to contribute. Give a student that first break. Call 213-625-6688.
In this town, you are what you drive, so I drive a funny car to make a serious point. Look, 2 different gasolines. On regular unleaded, engine knocks rob my power. But on Texaco Super Unleaded, I get performance fast. Its higher octane helps knock out the knocks. And to help keep the power flowing, the detergent in its Petrox additive helps clean clogged fuel injectors and keeps them clean. Texaco Super Unleaded with Petrox detergent. Superstar power for more car power.
Rodney Dangerfield is very hot this summer, and Danny DeVito is making a killing. So this week's People stars both these unlikely Hollywood hunks. People celebrates People, as Rodney's hit movie Back to School gets a lot of respect, and DeVito and Midler's Ruthless People pulls in millions. Then People stages a revealing salute to the Bikini's 40th birthday. Rudolph Nuriev's protege leaps to ballet stardom, and much more. Week after week, People celebrates People. This week, Rodney and Danny's surprising smash hits.
Hungry for something different? Wait till you see what's cooking at Furs.
When your hunk has got the hungries, Furs is full of manly fare. When mom is tired of cooking, you know Furs is always there. A feast for starving students and a drumstick for the kids. We love to baby babies with a high chair and a bib. So come on down and take a look at something good is always cooking. You just can't beat what's cooking at Furs. Honey, we're gonna be late. Lenny, the wedding?
Strange things seem to happen when C&R has its store-wide clearance sale. With savings of 20 to 60% on suits, sport coats, slacks, and accessories, it's no wonder.
Hi, Daddy. We'll be right there. Lenny, don't do this to me. My aunt flew in from Cleveland, and she's probably done. Oh, I'm starting to break out. You know that.
The C&R store-wide clearance sale is on now. People will go to any length to get there.
C&R? We sort of bumbled through an explanation of how British royal women are named yesterday, but we have got it absolutely straight now. Sarah Ferguson, as of today, has no given name at all anymore. She is not Princess Sarah because the brides of royal princes take their husband's Christian name. Therefore, she would be called Princess Andrew. However, this morning, Queen Elizabeth named Andrew the Duke of York. We're going to have a quiz on this. So to be absolutely correct, if you run into her, his wife's name is now Her Royal Highness the Duchess of York, even though we're probably going to still call her Fergie. What do you think?
I wouldn't be at all surprised. All right, somebody's got to fess up. Who did it? Somebody has ripped off Johnny Carson's personal coffee cup, his cigarette lighter, and his cigarette box. Now, Those personal effects disappear from the Tonight Show set earlier this month while Johnny was on vacation. Comedian Gary Shandling hosted the show 1 week, but NBC thinks the items disappeared during a week of reruns. Carson has had the coffee cup since the days when the show was broadcast from New York, so they have some sentimental value, but no sign of where they are so far.
Somebody brave, willing to...
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, you didn't do it, did you?
Were you kidding me?
No way,
Not the kid.
Listen, last night,
yes,
I woke up at 2:30 with all the lightning. I should have turned on the royal wedding, but I said, I'll look at it on tape. But that was an exciting show.
It was colorful. A lot of people called in, said they saw it. We even had some measurable amounts of rain, but we have a chance of a repeat for tonight.
All right.
More likely in the foothills, though, than along the coast. But I'm telling you, it'll be rocking. Yeah, what a party. Yeah, Compton reported in with about 0.2 of an inch. Downtown, just over 1/10 of an inch, 0.13. And San Diego reported a trace of rainfall. Rainfall all throughout the Southland. But more thunder and lightning is expected tonight, like I said, in the inland areas. And then by tomorrow, back to our normal tradition. Still humid and a little bit warmer. Let's go outside. The picture, it's a pretty picture. Take a look. As it says, in the water somewhere. Yeah, we're very descriptive here on Channel 4. Let's put some temperatures up there, and we'll talk a little bit about the weather. Right now, it is 80 degrees in downtown Los Angeles. Our barometer is at 30.07 inches. Humidity is at 52%. It's starting to decline a little bit. The winds are out of the west at 8 miles an hour. Our high today was 83, and our low was 65 degrees. Let's go right now to our radar map, and as you can see, scattered thunderstorm activity and rain showers all throughout the central part of the state of California. We're going to continue to see this trend as warm, moist air is coming up out of the south, putting more moisture in our atmosphere. We're also looking at some moisture down here. We have 3 clumps of heavy rain showers. This map kind of shows where those are. Down here in the Gulf states, we have some rain showers. Also, rain showers in the mid-Atlantic states and some showers up here coming out of the plains and entering the Great Lakes region. For us, some scattered showers as well. Throughout most of the west, with the exception of the Pacific Northwest, which is experiencing very, very nice temperatures. Now, let's take a look at the temperatures around the nation today. You can see for yourself just what it was like around the nation. The Big Apple reported in today with a high of 83 degrees. Chicago, 88 degrees, 96 in Dallas today. And Hurricane Estelle, or can we call her a hurricane? No longer can we. Just this last hour, Hurricane Estelle was downgraded to a tropical storm. Here's Estelle right here, moving south of the big island of Hawaii, and we're seeing lots of rain showers throughout this area. Matter of fact, they've put some advisories up. Hurricane watch, gale warnings, high surf advisory, rain, heavy rain. Also, the storm is moving to the west. That's good news. It is a tropical storm now. That means the winds are under 63 miles an hour, and it is moving that way. The high surf and the warnings will continue to be in effect for another 12 to 24 hours. If you're going to Hawaii, don't cancel your trip. Go for it, because we're going to see a dramatic clearing trend as this tropical storm continues to weaken. Take a look at the temperatures for the Southland tonight. Because of the cloudy skies along the coast, we're going to see some warm and humid temperatures this evening. It's going to be quite balmy out. And then for tomorrow, lots of sunshine in the inland areas, but also some scattered thunderstorms are going to be moving out. So we're going to see along the coast mostly mid to high 70s. And then tonight, some isolated rain showers, 65 for a low. And then tomorrow, mostly sunny and a little bit warmer as most of these clouds start to move out of our area. And the outlook for the next 3 days reads just like this. But all that humidity has been coming up out of the Pacific, out of the eastern Pacific, and it has been causing high humidity, but that's going to start to decrease over the next few days.
Yes. Hurricane Estelle, by the way, caused some damage in Hawaii on the southeastern corner of the island. They don't know how much because people are just getting back to their houses. So
that's right.
Maybe
that's right.
Major.
Yeah, for the next 12 hours, they say the watches will continue
Well,
to be
and the
in
boats
effect.
also are in danger along there.
Okay,
Okay, Christopher,
Thanks, Christopher.
thank you very much. Coming up, our pharmacist, Max Stolman, explains how some medicines taken for one illness can sometimes cause another.
And Carol Hutchison reports on some remarkable success stories in the fight against cancer.
Every kind of camp for every kind of kid. That's what the YMCA offers this summer. Before you make your summer camping plans, call the Y.
Howard's, the people-pleasing people, with 2 block-long showrooms, so more refrigerators than a lot of the big chain stores. Here's a great buy.
Now, Southern California Edison customers get a big $50 rebate on this deluxe General Electric frost-free refrigerator. It's a GE large capacity 17.7 cubic foot. Howard's low price, including free normal delivery, is just $499.
Howard's, the people-pleasing people, with better prices, better credit terms, better service.
Only on Air Cal, Jetaway fares. Air Cal now gives you the lowest unrestricted fares to the Bay Area, $49. Sacramento, $49. Portland, $99. Seattle, $99. Air Cal's Jetaway fares are good Saturday noon through Sunday noon only, and only on Air Cal. Remember, no advance purchase is required, but seats are limited, so call now. 1-800-4-AIR-CAL. We make flying easy.
At the Las Vegas Hilton, the best thing about a July package deal isn't basking beside our shimmering pool. It's not the tennis, nor the sumptuous buffet lunch, or the Hilton Showroom Superstar Entertainment, and 2 complimentary beverages. Not even the 3 days and 2 nights in a luxurious room. The best thing is our July package deals start at just $24.50 weekdays or weekends. Call the Las Vegas Hilton, 1-800-732-7117.
It's no use. I just know my ugly stepsisters will recognize me and have me bounced out of the ball.
Oh, no problem. Try L'Oreal Avantage Semi-Permanent Hair Color. I got it on sale at Thrifty for just $3.49. New color, new you.
L'Oreal Avantage is fabulous, but they'll still recognize me.
How?
With my feet and these glass slippers, they'll see right through them.
A major breakthrough in the prevention of one of the world's most serious health problems, hepatitis B. In Boston, the Food and Drug Administration announced today it has licensed the first genetically engineered vaccine for that form of hepatitis. There is no cure for hepatitis B, and until now, the only vaccine against it was derived from blood plasma. It was a slow and expensive process. Today, there are 200 million hepatitis sufferers worldwide, 200,000 infected in the U.S. every year. They run a high risk of cirrhosis of the liver and liver cancer. But this new vaccine that's produced through genetic engineering is easier and cheaper to make and could be used against other viruses.
In principle, this type of technique should be able to be extended to any parasite and enables us for the first time to prepare vaccines for organisms that cannot be normally propagated in the laboratory.
The people who need the vaccine most are drug users and homosexual men, most prone to hepatitis B. Kirstie.
More medical good news now. There was an anniversary party in Duarte today for patients of a medical treatment that was considered super radical less than 15 years ago. It's called the bone marrow transplant. From the beginning, Los Angeles has been in on the research. UCLA specialist Robert Gale is now in Moscow treating Chernobyl victims. As Carol Hutchison tells us, some local patients already look back on a decade of such treatments. Carol.
That's right. Kirstie and John, doctors say even now they have to do a lot of explaining to both patients and donors. The procedure itself is not that hard on either one, but the time after the bone marrow transplant is very critical and difficult for the recipient. There's a chance of infection, the chance the transplant won't take, and the chance that the cancer, mostly leukemia, will come back. But the returning patients say they wanted to take those chances.
It does give you a lot more chance to live longer, and maybe indefinitely.
Some bone marrow recipients count their lives in 2 sections, before and after the transplant. They gladly return for the yearly reunions to talk about how life is different now.
I take more time for myself. I care for myself more. I take better care of myself. The people I love more deeply.
While Jim Sieferheld said he felt an almost undescribable bond with his sister who donated bone marrow to save his life, she feels he changed hers.
When I came home and I told my husband, I'm running for school board, and he said, well, do you have time? I said, well, hey, you know, I'm alive and well. I have plenty of time.
The risk to the donor is described as minimal. Needles are inserted into the hip bone, and about 1.5 quarts of liquid, a little thicker than blood, is withdrawn. It'll be filtered and given to the patient as a regular transfusion. The new bone marrow cells will make their way to spaces in the bone and should start producing red, white, and infection-fighting blood cells once again. While it used to be a procedure of last resort for leukemia patients who'd failed on every other treatment, doctors say they do bone marrow transplants earlier now, even for leukemia patients who respond well to chemotherapy but need a little more.
We can quite accurately project what the chances for success are, and they're in the order between 50 and 75% for patients who are in remission and who have a suitable donor.
Having seen enough patients who have not done well, who were not transplanted, to know that when you can accomplish this for a patient, that there's no greater joy for a physician than to take someone who has a fatal disease and return them to, hopefully, a normal longevity.
Now, doctors say they still face problems with infection and the recurrence of the basic disease, but feel in the future these problems will be less. Genetics may play a role in some diseases, and we may be able to use our own bone marrow. Now today, a few dozen people were simply happy to be alive from the technology we have.
If your bone marrow is defective, though, how would you use your own to fight the
There is
disease?
some interesting research that's just published out of Johns Hopkins University, and what they were able to do is take the bone marrow from the individual, take it out of the body, cleanse it, add a drug, put it back in, and in some cases, apparently they've reported very good results. Dr. Blumen, that we interviewed today, said that would be revolutionary if, that holds up, because it would eliminate this requirement of having a carefully matched donor. And usually
no rejection
that's,
problems.
Right, and that's a brother or sister, and sometimes people just can't find that match.
Yeah, eliminate a major problem.
Thank
Okay,
you, Carol, very
thanks a
much.
lot. Friendly pharmacist Max Stoneman is here now. Today he's talking about treatment for arthritis, some arthritis drugs which are very effective, but unfortunately they have some pretty bad side effects.
That's right. You know, there are about 27 million prescriptions that were written last year for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And we can show a little slide that lists just a few. Aspirin is one of them. Your Nuprin, your Advil, those are over-the-counter ones, but then you have all of the prescription ones. The problem is that the Food and Drug Administration is receiving numerous reports which now say that there are a lot of problems. These reports are coming from here in the United States and also from other countries. And the problem is that they've discovered there are gut problems. And they've gone down with endoscopy. They go down and actually look around inside. And in 50% of the cases, people had no symptoms that anything was wrong. Micro-bleeding, little craters that are formed. This is not the usual peptic ulcer. This is a different kind of problem. And it is specific for these kinds of drugs. And a doctor in Phoenix who specialized in this, Dr. Roth, said he calls it gastropathy. It's a disease of that particular area caused by this particular kind of medicine.
So they can lead to major stomach problems, but no symptoms in most of these cases.
In a lot of cases, no symptoms. So there are things that people need to do. One, when doctors do prescribe for their rheumatoid arthritis, this sort of thing, they need to take their antacids the way the doctor told them to take it, as often as they need, and comply with it. There is a medicine that is known as Carafate, and the doctor might prescribe that. We'll show a slide of that on the screen, of that particular medicine, Carafate, Socrafate, and that is something that can coat the stomach and protect from that particular problem. But there are other things that can be done, using lower doses, using drugs. You know the Feldine problem. We heard that there were a great many problems. People who are compromised because they're either women or older, because women have greater problems, or older people, can have a problem where the drug isn't excreted, doesn't get out of the system because of the kidneys not being as effective as they were, and therefore it builds up, and they can have a greater problem. And when you have a long-acting drug, like the Feldine is, that makes it more difficult. So it's important to be in touch with your doctor, have stool samples made to see that there's no alcohol blood there, no bleeding, and be careful, report any symptoms you may have that would indicate a problem.
And even if there is a problem, you may be able to counteract it with these other drugs so you don't use the benefit of these arthritis medicines.
Right.
Okay, Max, thank you very much.
Thank you, Max. Coming up in the next half hour, Fred Roggin reports on the Cubs Batgirl who struck out because she was a swinger.
And David Horowitz shows us how howls of protest made a big company right a wrong.
We'll wrap up our series on the next generation of Kennedys with the congressional campaign of the son of a senator whose uncle was a president.
And we'll tell you about a scheme to sell planes to Libya's Gaddafi that got 5 men indicted.
I can do anything you can do better.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
But I have professional strength.
Rid-a-bug has the same strength.
I can kill a whole house full of bugs.
So can Rid-a-bug.
This keeps killing for weeks?
So does Rid-a-bug, and it costs a lot less. Rid-a-bug Home Insect Killer. The strongest, longest-lasting spray you can buy at any price.
Say, would you like a job?
Hello, I'm Ann Lockhart. I'd like to take you on a little tour of the new Alpha Beta. Alpha Beta's changed, you know. For one thing, they've introduced new, lower prices all over the store. You'll find thousands of prices reduced, dramatically reduced, on the things you buy most. You'll also notice a new spirit of service that's going to make your life a lot easier. New savings, new service. Check out the difference at Alpha Beta and tell a friend.
Shopping around for car insurance? Most companies treat you the same, especially if you've had a couple of tickets.
Oh, Harry.
A reckless driving conviction?
Oh, Harry.
Or a teenage driver?
Dump the kid, Harry.
If you have any car insurance problems, give us a call. We'll send you some of the lowest rates available, along with our fast and friendly service. At Public Insurance Service, it's no problem. Oh, and keep the kid, Harry.
Honey, we're gonna be late. Lenny, the wedding?
Strange things seem to happen when C&R has its store-wide clearance sale. With savings of 20 to 60% on suits, sport coats, slacks, and accessories, it's no wonder.
Hi, Daddy. We'll be right there. Lenny, don't do this to me. My Aunt flew in from Cleveland, and she's probably done. Oh, I'm starting to break out. You know that.
The C&R store-wide clearance sale is on now. People will go to any length to get there.
C&R? 5 Californians and 2 Libyans were indicted today for selling a pair of military transport planes to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. The illegal scheme netted the suspects, they say, millions of dollars. Our reporter Doug Bruckner's in the newsroom with more on this story. Doug?
All 5 of the Californians indicted are in jail or on their way there. 3 Santa Maria men will surrender in Atlanta tomorrow. Another is behind bars in Honolulu. But the key defendant in the case is being brought here to Los Angeles, and he's being held on $1 million bail.
52-year-old Franklin Corcoran, who dodged cameramen today, is accused of being a Libyan connection for the California-based ring. According to the indictment, Corcoran is a former employee of Libya's national oil company. Corcoran has been living at this oceanfront house in Pismo Beach with a garage and driveway filled with luxury cars. Corcoran was arrested near this restaurant driving a new Corvette. The ring allegedly collected more than $50 million from the Libyans for the 2 planes. Gaddafi's government had tried to buy 8 of the C-130s from the U.S. in 1972, but the sale was blocked by Washington, and Lockheed still has the aircraft. It was Lockheed officials who alerted U.S. Customs that new C-130s were in Libya. The U.S. attorney says Lockheed will not be prosecuted.
We took a hard look at all the participants in the transaction. Obviously, Lockheed was in this transaction, so we were not oblivious to the possibility that somehow Lockheed had criminal liability. The conclusion was no.
We're embarrassed for the company, of course, because we did inadvertently provide aircraft which apparently have gotten to Libya.
3 California companies, including Armoflex, a Santa Maria engineering firm, were named in the indictment as alleged fronts for the airplane deal. The planes were flown first to Newfoundland, then to France, then to the West African nation of Benin, and finally on to Libya. The story was that they were to be used for oil exploration in West Africa. The indictment states that the Californians charged started out trying to sell bulletproof vests and helmets to the Libyans, but found the C-130 airplanes much more profitable.
The chief of the Libyan Armed Forces is named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the case. He is not likely to be brought to trial, but if the businessmen from California are convicted, they face 35 years maximum prison term. John, Kirstie.
Okay, Doug, thank you very much. A House committee has approved a bill to ban sightseeing flights below the rim of the Grand Canyon. This a month after 25 people were killed in the crash of 2 sightseeing aircraft. In addition, the measure would outlaw low-altitude tourist flights over 2 other national parks, including Yosemite Park in California. That legislation now goes to the full House for consideration. 14 people were hurt this morning in a hotel fire just east of downtown Los Angeles. Among those injured, 6 firefighters. Matt Stevens tells us what happened.
The Brooklyn hotel burst into flames at dawn. 18 companies of firefighters battled the blaze for half an hour before bringing it under control. 6 firefighters received minor burns when they entered the building after hearing screams from the 2nd floor. 2 residents jumped from the windows, one of them onto a couch, the other onto the pavement. 14 were injured in all, the worst a broken foot. 2 people were admitted to local hospitals, complaining of chest and back pain.
As soon as I opened my door, a big fall of flame just hit my face, you know, and it kind of blinded me, so I couldn't see that good. There was a bunch of smoke. Come in.
The fire left about 60 people homeless. They were bused to nearby Roosevelt High School, where the Red Cross turned the gym into an emergency shelter. It will be several days before relocation plans are complete. Investigators have yet to determine the cause of this fire, which did an estimated $250,000 damage.
But I'm just happy to see everybody's alive and safe, that's all.
Matt Stevens, Channel 4 News, Boyle Heights.
And up in Monterey today, the latest in a series of suspicious fires raced through two warehouses on Cannery Row. In about an hour and a half, the fire turned the two structures into burned-out shells. However, fire crews were able to keep the flames from spreading to the famous Cannery Row tourist attractions. In the last week, there have been 2 arson fires in the area, and officials suspect this one was also set. The damage estimate has not been released, and as you know, Cannery Row was made famous by the John Steinbeck novel of the same name. The LA City Council went back to the drawing boards today and came up with another plan, creating new boundaries for its council districts. This new plan sets up a dramatic confrontation between 2 incumbents. Our political editor Linda Douglas reports this plan is a compromise.
When the council members looked at this latest redistricting map, they saw the writing on the wall. This plan would not pit Asians against Hispanics and might achieve legal ethnic balance. But it would do the one thing the office holders dreaded most. It would force one of them to run against the other.
It's going to be a new ball game.
Mayor Bradley yesterday vetoed a plan to put the council's only Asian, Mike Wu, into a newly created majority Hispanic district. Today, the council voted to create that new Hispanic district, but to move Wu and some of his power base into John Ferraro's district. That would mean Wu could run against Ferraro next year. Ferraro was consoled by his colleagues, but realized he had little choice.
I'm not particularly happy about running against a colleague.
An exhausted Richard Alatorre reminded his colleagues they had to keep their eyes on the discrimination lawsuit that prompted the new plan in the first place.
It's not a question of whether it's good for Mr. Wu. It's not a question of whether it's good for Mr. Ferraro. I think the question is, what does it do for all of the people of Los Angeles?
Though the plan passed easily, gloom hung in the air as Ferraro fired the first warning shot of his likely future battle against Mike Wu.
I am the incumbent. I will serve that 4th district as if I've served it for 20 years and not just a few months. And I don't want any interference from other members of the council.
I'm sure he appreciates the fact that I'm one of his new constituents in the 4th district, and I'm sure that he will extend to me every courtesy in terms of expressing my opinions on issues of the people of the 4th district.
Wu wasn't excited about today's verdict, but said it was more fair than exposing him to outright defeat.
I think what we have is a stage which is set for a fair contest in front of the people of this district.
Once again, the redistricting plan will have to go to Mayor Bradley, and this time he's expected to approve it. Then the plan will have to go before a federal court judge next week, and there is no predicting how the judge will act. Linda Douglas, Channel 4 News at Los Angeles City Hall.
A group of UCLA students today filed 2 separate $1.5 million lawsuits against the state and the county. The suits charge mistreatment during an anti-apartheid rally on campus earlier this year. The Westwood students were protesting the university system's investments in firms doing business in South Africa when they clashed with campus police. The students say they were assaulted, beaten, harassed, intimidated, and clubbed by officers, even though it started as a peaceful protest. In addition, these students are charging mistreatment at county jail facilities where they were taken. UCLA officials had no comment on the lawsuit filed today. In Washington, Secretary of State Schultz today ran into angry opposition on Capitol Hill as he tried to justify the administration's refusal to impose sanctions on South Africa. The exchanges got very heated and lasted for some time.
I hate to hear a senator of the United States calling for violence.
I'm not calling
That's
for violence.
what you're doing.
I hate
that is
to hear.
Exactly what you're doing.
I hate to hear an administration and a Secretary of State refusing to act on a morally abhorrent point. I hate to hear this country. I'm ashamed that this country puts out a policy like this that says nothing. Nothing. It says continue the same.
I doubt very much if there is any real disagreement with the objectives set out there, with the steps that have to be taken if there is going to be the kind of change you want.
Secretary Schultz was testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Kirstie.
New York Times correspondent John Burns arrived in Hong Kong today after being kicked out of China. Burns, a British and Canadian citizen, spent 6 days in jail there after he and 2 other men were taken into custody. The Chinese government accused them of breaking into a restricted military zone and taking pictures. But Burns told reporters in Hong Kong today that those charges are ludicrous.
It was nonsense from the start. I engaged in a quite legitimate journalistic activity. I traveled through the countryside of China to see for myself, spontaneously, what differences have been brought by the reforms of the last few years.
Burns said that the Chinese government should recognize his innocence because they had confiscated his travel notes and film and therefore had to know that he wasn't a spy. Coming up, David Horowitz reports on one company that still believes the customer is always right.
What year are you at? Have you seen this lately? Have you seen this lately? All right, that's enough. You've had your say. I've got more to say, I'll tell you that. You stink, you stink. He's through. I can see. He's put the ball on him. One more stuff like that and you're out. You can't get down here because you can't see me. You are gone.
Fred Roggin shows you more stuff on Channel 4 News.
This is Sybil Shepherd for Children of the Night. Each year, thousands of young runaways are exploited and abused. You can help.
You know where you're going, and you always arrive with style. It's easy with Estee Lauder's free gift collection. Yours with any Estee Lauder purchase of $10 or more, filled with makeup, fragrance, and treatment products, including triple cream skin rehydrator and white linen parfum spray. It's just the collection you've been waiting for.
And Estee Lauder just knew it.
This Estee Lauder gift is yours through July 26th at the Broadway.
Rodney Dangerfield is very hot this summer, and Danny DeVito is making a killing. So this week's People stars both these unlikely Hollywood hunks. People celebrates People, as Rodney's hit movie Back to School gets a lot of respect, and DeVito and Midler's Ruthless People pulls in millions. Then People stages a revealing salute to the Bikini's 40th birthday. Rudolph Nuriev's protege leaps to ballet stardom, and much more. Week after week, People celebrates People. This week, Rodney and Danny's surprising smash hits.
Ice cream, yummy.
Kids are born stain makers. So moms need the stain lifter.
A-L-L.
Uh-huh.
How does it work?
All goes right to the stain and just lifts it away. For my little stain makers,
Greasy.
I get the stain lifter.
Wow. A-L-L. It's the stain lifter.
Released murderer rapist William Archie Fain was arrested today after police said an hysterical and terrified woman screamed for help and complained Fain had followed her in his car. However, police said that because the woman was so scared and would not give officers details of the incident, Fain was arrested only for drunk driving when he failed a breath test. His pants were unzipped and he was drunk when he was arrested, according to police detective Donna Lind. He denied having followed the woman and denied having contact with her. The state Supreme Court released Fain from state prison in 1983, despite Governor Duke Mation's attempts to block that release and petition signed by 62,500 Californians. Kirstie.
You know, when some companies make a mistake, they bend over backwards to make good on an offer, and that's kind of nice to see. You didn't even have to, like, really stick it to them this time.
No. I want to tell you, this is really interesting. John's going to like this because it comes from a part of the country that he originally was from, and that is Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where the Hanes Company is located. And Hanes, as you probably know, manufactures underall pantyhose and had a special refund offer on the outside of its package of Summeralls pantyhose. This is what it said. Receive up to $5 cash refund in the mail. Purchase proofs required. See details inside. Well, obviously, you had to buy the Summeralls in order to find out what the offer was all about. It offered varying amounts of money depending on the number of proofs of purchase seals sent in. Several viewers have written to me to say that when they bought the Summeralls and opened the package and read the fine print, it said that the offer excluded Summeralls and Winteralls. It was only good for underalls or slenderalls or coloralls. Now, our viewers were quite upset and felt that this was misleading, misrepresentative, illegal, and a ripoff. Well, I talked to the people at the Hanes Hosiery Company, and it turns out that they had received many complaints about this cash refund offer. Hanes admitted that it made a mistake. And the first thing it did was to fire all the people who were involved in the planning of the campaign. Next, the company contacted the fulfillment house and instructed it to accept proof of purchase seals for Summeralls and Winteralls, as well as underalls, slenderalls, and coloralls, and those customers would also receive the cash refund. On boxes that hadn't been shipped, they also inserted cards into each pair of hosiery that told the buyer that the refund offer had been extended to include Summeralls and Winteralls. everyone at the Haynes Hosiery Company, from the sales staff to the people they dealt with at various stores, were made aware of the problem and instructed how to deal with the customers. The corporate thinking behind making sure that all their customers are satisfied is that the Haynes Company told me that it feels they would rather have their customers know that they made a mistake, that they goofed, and they're rectifying it, instead of having people feel their company is trying to deceive them. A spokesperson for the company told me that if you have purchased a pair of summeralls in order to get the cash refund, send the proof of purchase to me, and I will forward your letter to the Haynes Company. They will not only send you a refund of up to $5, but they will also send you a free pair of pantyhose or money to purchase a new pair. Here's my address. Don't send me the pantyhose, though. Send me the packages and the proof of purchase. David Horowitz, Channel 4 News, Burbank, California, and our zip code is 91523. And as you see, put Haynes on the outside of the envelope so that I can get it going through the proper channels. Now, this offer is being pulled at the end of August, but a vice president of Haynes Hosiery told me that he would honor all requests until February of 1987. And I consider this really fantastic company service.
I should think so.
I mean, you know, they admitted they goofed, and they're trying to make good on it.
Yeah. Can't ask for much more than that, can you?
No.
And all those alls are included.
All those alls, slender alls, winter alls, summer alls. I don't know about this kind of stuff, you know.
Okay. All right, David, thank you.
Coming up next, Fred Roggin reports on a warm-up race for the America's Cup contest next year.
And we'll have the case of the Cubs ball girl fired for overexposure.
Colombian coffee beans, the richest in the world. Isn't it a pity that some leading decaffeinated coffees give you next to none of these superior beans, and others think they're being generous by giving you a little more? On the other hand, U-Ban decaffeinated coffee is created from nothing but gourmet Colombian beans, and every sip of every cup reminds you of that fact. U-Ban decaffeinated, gourmet coffee that comes in a can.
7/10 of our world is covered with water. In Los Angeles, there's a place that overlooks this vast frontier. A place of wilderness. A place of drama. Hold your breath. It's Marine Land. Plummet into global oceans teeming with life. Go eye to glowing eye with predators of the deep. Venture into a realm as intriguing as outer space. All a touch closer at LA's own Marine Land.
Want some excitement? How about Select TV for free?
I don't believe that.
It's true. Select TV's having a free trial offer.
Tell me about it.
Okay, you can try Select TV at home without obligation.
Right.
Right, and you'll get 12 new movies a week.
Really? Which one?
Well, next week there's Mask and The Last Starfighter and Tightrope and...
So I see.
Yeah, I think this is just great.
It is just great. Call now.
Well, can I use your phone?
No, use your own phone.
Is your time valuable? Then why make 2 trips and wait for eyeglasses? At Lens Crafters, we custom grind your lenses in about an hour, even bifocals. Listen.
My glasses were finished in around 45 minutes.
We went out for lunch, and when I came back, the glasses were ready in about 45 minutes.
If your time is valuable, this is the place. If quality is important, this is the place.
Lens Crafters, glasses in about an hour. Call 800-722-LENS for the location near you.
Okay, Fred is rapidly writing down the last details of the sports this just in. It must be something pretty good. Fred, what is it?
Dodgers are leading Pittsburgh 2-0. They're in the first inning. They won last night. They're trying to make it 2 straight over the cellar-dwelling Pirates, and we'll have highlights at 11 o'clock.
Right.
John and Kirstie, back to you. Now, if there's one good thing about the Angels slump, and of course they're going through a slump, they're not losing any ground right now because second place Texas is playing worse than the Angels. Rangers lost their 7th straight today. We're going to go to Yankee Stadium, pick it up in the 10th, 2 down, bases loaded. Ron Hassey at the plate. Ground ball to Pete O'Brien at first. The race is on. Make the call here. Umpire Rich Garcia says he's safe. The run scored on the play. The Yankees won it 3-2. The Rangers couldn't believe it. Now, we want to show it to you again from another angle. Does Hassey beat O'Brien to the bag? You make the call. It's close.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a tough one.
Like a tie.
That's a close one. Well, the umpire called him safe. The Yankees won it 3-2. And the Rangers have lost 7 straight.
You know what they say?
What do they say?
Tie goes to the
runner. And what
runner.
have we talked about out here in the past now?
We've said there's no such thing, but we know every ump calls it that way.
Well,
except for maybe you.
Except for all real umpires who will tell you there's no such thing as a tie. The man is out or he is safe.
Come on, you think if it's a real close call, they don't kind of lean that way?
When in doubt, call him out. No, I don't know.
You were tough
I'm
when
telling
you
you
were
the truth. There's no tie. All right, other finals this afternoon. We got to move on because we have some important stuff to talk about. Oakland over Boston 9-2 in the National League. San Diego beat the Cubs 7-5, and this is critical. A controversy in Chicago. She looks like any other bat girl or ball girl.
Well.
She's dressed in Cubs pinstripes and is in plain view of all the fans at Wrigley Field. But fans everywhere now have a chance to see Marla Collins. She's in Playboy, and if you think the pictures are steamy, you should have seen how the Cubs reacted. They were really steamed about the whole thing, and they fired her.
No.
Yes, they fired her.
What bothered them was that they thought I was using them to gain popularity or something, that I was using the team for my own benefit.
We understand her turn-ons were home runs and Harry Carey. Her turn-offs were Cubs lose in nuclear war. I always like to put that in the articles. All right, the Pacific, any questions on that, by the way?
Not a one.
I think we've got that covered. The Pacific 1000 11-day Catamaran Race kicked off today. Mike Smith was in Long Beach for the start and has this report.
The fleet took off at noon today and headed toward Catalina, the first stop in the 11-day race. One crew really stood out, and for an obvious reason. It's the only all-female team in the race. Now, because of weight restrictions, they can go with 3 members instead of 2.
Having the third person, you can rotate, so you don't get the fatigue factor. So I think we do have an advantage. The disadvantage, of course, is the 20 pounds extra weight if it's light wind.
There are some who would suggest this is a battle of the men against the women, but the gals on custom nails say, hey, it's just really a battle of good sailors.
The intent is to be a good team, and it doesn't matter if you're men or women. And we chose to go with what would be advantageous for the sponsor, which was all women, so that when we get ashore, we can dress up and put our nails on.
It's good sailors out there. We just happen to be good women sailors out there. So there's a lot of men, and I think there's a few women that are doing it, the Catalina series, but we're the only team.
Even though they say it's sailor against sailor down deep, there is a desire to kind of outdo the guys.
Of course, that's what you always want to do.
Will they be successful? Well, we'll know in 11 days. Mike Smith, Channel 4 Sports, Long Beach.
All right, some other quick notes. It's official today. The Detroit Lion running back Billy Sims announced his retirement. He had a bad knee, and it's unfortunate because he played 5 years and could have played many more. He was an outstanding runner. Yesterday on our 6 o'clock show, we had a controversial You Make the Call. A number of fans called us up when we got off the air and said, we think you're wrong. Do you remember the play?
I remember. I got it right.
You got it right, and of course you got it wrong. Batter hit the ball, and it struck the umpire who was standing inside the infield.
Right.
The umpire immediately called it a dead ball. A lot of fans said, how could that be a dead ball? If it hits the umpire's on the field of play.
Sure.
At 6 o'clock tonight, you'll hear from National League umpire Jerry Dale. He came into the studio. He analyzed the tape. He will explain why the rule is like that, why the call was made, and why, yes, John Beard was wrong. And next hour, get ready as we take a trip through Mr. Roggins' neighborhood to discuss violence in baseball.
Wait a minute. This is Mr. Roggins' neighborhood, 4 o'clock.
Well, Mr. Roggin had to move to a new neighborhood to see some new friends, his new friends, Kelly and Keith.
Wait a minute. That's not a move. That's a vacation because we want him back.
He'll be back. He's just going to visit him.
Okay,
He's just going away for a day.
That's right. One day.
Right, let's get that straight. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred, very much.
All right, we're going to switch up to the neighborhood now, and our friend's up on the 5 o'clock neighborhood, and we're checking with Kelly. Hi, Kel.
And what we'll have at 5 o'clock, of course, is Mr. Roggins' neighborhood, as you already know. Also, George Shultz got a tongue lashing today when he went to Congress to talk about President Reagan's policy towards South Africa, and we will see that confrontation on the 5 o'clock hour. We'll also tell you what's in store tonight after that spectacular lightning storm early this morning, and we will relive those magic moments in London as Andy and Fergie became, yes, Duke and Duchess. We'll have more on the story we broke last night about Californians accused of selling military planes to Muammar Gaddafi, and David Horowitz tonight has some important information for parents about thermometers. Now, the rest of the day's top news, and of course, Mr. Roggins' neighborhood on the 5 o'clock hour. John and Kirstie.
But there's one that you don't have, Kelly. It's a weird paternity case in Texas. Max, a miniature schnauzer, accused of breaking and entering a home in Grand Prairie, Texas, has been acquitted, and he's a free dog today. Max wound up in the middle of a lawsuit after a couple claimed that Max crashed through their front window, impregnated their pair of Pekingese, and then escaped after leaving his mark on a couch and a carpet. Kenny Minton testified today that he saw Max running from his house last March. But after an expert witness testified he didn't believe Max was strong enough to break the window, and other reports were heard that a poodle may have been involved, the judge decided to drop the case, and family members spoke for Max.
I think that he's really only interested probably in a slice of bologna, or maybe another Pekingese.
Kenny and Lisa Minton were seeking $350 damages. Outside the court, they refused comment. Max's owner says that all this notoriety is making them think about upping Max's stud fee. They don't have that at 5.
No, I can understand why they might not. Coming up, we'll continue our series on the young Kennedys. Today, his uncle was president, his father a senator, and now he wants to be a congressman.
Have you reached the last straw with cocaine? Well, there's something you can do. Call Cocaine Anonymous. It really works.
I'm up to my ears in softness. You can be too with me. Snuggle Fabric Softener. Snuggly softness that's really less expensive. With me, clothes feel so soft. Smell, color fresh. And they're static free. Socks don't stick, clothes don't cling. For a wash that's snuggly soft as can be, try me.
Snuggle Fabric Softener. Snuggly softness that's really less expensive.
At Fantastic Sam's, we want you to have a fantastic experience. So we're sticklers on personal attention and a warm, friendly atmosphere, like family. Our professional stylists and full range of services are state-of-the-art, but nothing is more important than your satisfaction, so we guarantee it.
Now, only $24.95 for a high-quality perm, including a free haircut. Only $24.95. Hurry, offer ends soon.
For a fantastic experience, come to Fantastic Sam's and join the family.
AT&T is in consumer marketing. Burger King serves over 4 million people every day. And every night, they use AT&T watts to collect clear, accurate data from their restaurants all over the country. So they always know what's selling. Is Burger King keeping their customers happy? With AT&T watts, the data is very clear. Talk with us. AT&T, the right choice.
Vernon, are you horrified? Do you tremble at high car prices? Do you seek the ultimate source of money-saving transportation? Well, seek no more. Cerritos Auto Square's used car sale is here. The biggest discounts you've ever seen on hundreds of used cars and pick-em-up trucks. Cerritos Auto Square's used car sale, Vernon. The epitome of excellence. Look at it, Vern. Look at it.
In the final segment of our series on the next generation of Kennedys, Susan King of our sister station in Washington profiles Joseph Kennedy III, the oldest son of the late Senator Robert Kennedy. Joe is running for a congressional seat once held by his uncle, President John F. Kennedy.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans.
My name is Joe Kennedy, and I've come home to the city of my ancestors and the district of my birth to run for the Congress of the United States.
Another generation of Kennedy is running for the Massachusetts seat a president made famous. Joe Kennedy, the oldest son of Robert, assumed the leadership role early, immediately after the assassination of his father. Story has it, Joe walked the length of the funeral train thanking people. Taking up the Kennedy mantle is something Joe never shrank from. He became the symbolic leader of the next generation. But this year, Joe Kennedy is trying to set himself apart.
This is Joe Kennedy running for office, and I think as we move along through this campaign, it'll become quite clear that I am running for this office and no other member of my family.
But it is the family name that turned out a media gang for Joe Kennedy's campaign announcement, one complete with a slideshow that tied his past to his present, emphasizing Citizens Energy, the public interest corporation he started, which turns rented ocean tankers and foreign oil, personally negotiated by Joe, into energy for the poor, the kind of do-good company that could give a politician credentials.
And it just doesn't seem to me that it makes a whole lot of sense to be working really on the outside when really in the inside is where all the power is.
Are people in the 8th District feeling like they're voting for the Kennedy legacy?
I just think that it's important to have some sort of balance between living in the past and living in the present. And I guess I'm much more feeling that it's important to live in the present.
So you don't feel...
And look to the future.
So you don't personally feel that you're carrying the Kennedy legacy in this campaign?
I mean, I don't think that... I think that's ludicrous.
Ludicrous or not, Joe Kennedy is exploiting the well-documented family charm and trading on a well-known family brand of politics.
I think that the Democratic Party has got to recapture the spirit that has been a tradition of this party, of investing in America's greatest natural resource, its own people.
The young Kennedys moving up, heading for the political trail, and continuing an American story. Susan King, Channel 4 News.
That's going to do it for us today. Thank you very much for being with us.
Down to the top of the 5 o'clock hours, we check in with Keith Morrison and Kelly Lange. Good evening.
Good evening, John. Kirstie, thank you very much, and good evening to you. One of the top stories this day, Secretary of State George Shultz got more than he bargained for on Capitol Hill. He went to explain the Reagan administration's policy on South Africa today. What he got was a tongue lashing, and you'll hear that.
And you'll hear all the pomp, circumstance, and tradition that made up today's royal wedding. We'll see how the happy couple made history in more ways than one.
Keith Morrison, Kelly Lange, Fritz Coleman, weather, Fred Roggin, sports, David Horowitz, fight back, and David Sheehan, entertainment. Channel 4 News at 5.
Good evening. Top story this hour. Federal investigators have confirmed what we reported here last night, that 7 people have been indicted for selling 2 Lockheed military transport planes to Libya. 5 of the suspects are from here in California. The other 2 are from Libya. Doug Bruckner is here. He's been looking into this extensively. He has more on this multi-million-dollar scheme, really. Doug?
Thank you, Kelly. The man who may be the key defendant in the case was employed until recently by the National Oil Company of Libya and lived in Tripoli. He's being held now on $1 million bond.
52-year-old Franklin Corcoran tried to hide from the cameras today, but before his arrest, he did little to cover up an extravagant lifestyle. Neighbors near his oceanfront home in Pismo Beach gossiped about the fleet of luxury cars in the garage and driveway. U.S. Customs agents say the Libyans paid more than $50 million for the 2 C-130 cargo planes. This Libyan document from Gaddafi's high command allegedly authorizes payment. The chief of the Libyan armed forces is an unindicted co-conspirator in the case. Gaddafi's government tried to buy 8 of the C-130s from the U.S. in 1972, but the sale was blocked by Washington. Lockheed still has the planes. It was Lockheed officials who alerted U.S. Customs that new C-130s were in Libya.
A source in the U.S., in one of the intelligence services, tipped us that he had heard reports that our airplanes had been spotted there.
3 California companies, including Armoflex, a Santa Maria engineering firm, were named in the indictment as alleged fronts for the airplane deal. The planes were flown first to Newfoundland, then to France, then to the West African nation of Benin, and finally on to Libya. The story was that they were to be used for oil exploration in West Africa. The indictment states that the Californians charged started out trying to sell bulletproof vests and helmets to the Libyans, but found the C-130 airplanes much more profitable.
3 men from Santa Maria indicted in the case will surrender tomorrow in Atlanta. The indictment charges that the ring was negotiating to sell 2 more C-130s to the Libyans when the whole case was broken up by U.S. Customs agents. Killer Keith.
Thank you, Doug. Efforts to achieve peace in the Middle East went nowhere today. The unprecedented 2-day summit between Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres and Morocco's King Hassan has reportedly ended in failure. King Hassan said no direct progress was made toward breaking the deadlocked Middle East peace talks. The meetings between the 2 Mideast leaders were held at Hassan's mountaintop retreat. Hassan said Peres refused to accept key parts of an Arab peace plan. He talked about the meeting during a TV address tonight.
And I said to Peres, what about the occupied land? About all of it. And he said, I won't negotiate. I said, good night.
The Arab peace plan called for Arab recognition of Israel, a home for the Palestinians, and Israel's withdrawal from occupied Arab territories. Both Morocco and Israel are expected to release a joint statement about the meetings tomorrow.
In Washington, Secretary of State George Shultz got caught right in the middle of the furor surrounding President Reagan's policy on South Africa. Shultz went to Capitol Hill to defend that policy, to explain why Congress should not impose economic sanctions. However, during a Senate hearing, Schultz got into an angry exchange.
Let me say that I hate to hear a senator of the United States calling for violence.
I'm not calling for violence.
That's what you're doing.
I hate to hear
exactly what you're doing.
I hate to hear an administration and a Secretary of State refusing to act on a morally abhorrent point. I hate to hear this country. I'm ashamed that this country puts out a policy like this that says nothing. Nothing. It says continue the same. We put no timetable on. We make no specific demand. We don't set it down.
I doubt very much if there is any real disagreement with the objectives set out there, with the steps that have to be taken if there is going to be the kind of change you want.
Secretary of State George Shultz testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
Well, in other news, in one magic moment today, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson became the Duke and Duchess of York and began what should be a charmed life. It happened early this morning, our time, with the world as their wedding guest. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, the royal parents, led the procession down the mile-long route to Westminster Abbey. A solemn Prince Andrew followed, riding with his brother and best man, Prince Edward. Sarah Ferguson already looked regal in an ivory satin silk dress on the arm of her father. The streets along the route were packed, since today was a national holiday. At Westminster Abbey, where royal couples have been wed for 920 years, it was a storybook ceremony for the famous and fashionable from all over the world, an event which simply could not be missed.
I, Sarah Margaret,
take thee, Andrew Albert Christian Edward,
take thee, Andrew Albert Christian Edward,
to my wedded husband.
to my wedded husband.
With this ring, I thee wed.
I thee wed.
With my body, I thee worship.
I thee worship.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Look at that. Finally, a crowd in the hundreds of thousands got to see the new royal couple from the balcony of the palace, a couple obviously very much in love. They left the palace in a storm of confetti, chaperoned by a giant teddy bear. And while tradition prevailed for most of the day, there were some modern wedding day gags, a satellite dish on the back of the carriage, with another wave to friends and family and the world. Andrew and Sarah flew off to their honeymoon in the Azores Islands off Portugal, with something on the back of their plane. People all over the world have fallen in love with royal weddings. Listen to this. Today's ceremony was seen on television in 42 countries and by 300 million people. Mini-series, that one.
I should do it again, that's right. Now let's talk about the royal ivory satin
Please
wedding
do.
dress. The royal wedding had barely just begun when one of London's top designers started a feverish race to knock off the first reproduction of Sarah Ferguson's wedding dress. Of course, as Henry Champ reports, there's a lot of money to be made by copycats.
And is about to set off, so this will be the first glimpse we have of Sarah Ferguson's much speculated on wedding dress.
Nobody was paying more attention at this moment than 73-year-old Rose Joseph, quickly sketching Sarah Ferguson's dress from the first television pictures. It was 11:15 in the morning, and her boss, Sid Ellis, had boasted he would have the first replica in one of London's more fashionable department stores by 5 that afternoon.
The bodice is very heavily beaded.
It took the original designer 4 months to make Sarah's dress. Rose would only have 4 hours. But this woman is a legend in London's rag trade. For 30 years, she has been copying and selling to starstruck British women something a Monroe, a Bardot, or a princess wore only days before.
I want to see what my neckline looks on that stone.
All of this is simply an artistic challenge for Rose. But Sid the boss, nervously fetching bolts of cloth, was staring at big money. He has already pre-sold 50 Fergie copies at $1,200 each. If the dress is a smash hit with British brides, this could be Sid's wedding of the century.
If it's a lovely dress, as long as we can get them out while the excitement is still in the air, it can sell for years.
Once Rose has the design right, an army of seamstresses and cutters get to work. It was 4:15, and the final tucks were being made for a Sarah look-alike model.
Very pleased with it, very pleased indeed.
Then the race through London to Oxford Street. And if anyone thought Sid had overestimated the financial rewards, the commotion greeting the dress's arrival changed all that.
Yes, they're coming back. Right, excuse me.
Sarah Ferguson's dress is, of course, real silk. It features unique hand beading and a 17-foot train. Rose used synthetics, ready-made embroidery, and a 6-foot train. But it will be on sale in Britain's trendy shops this weekend. Henry Champ, NBC News, London.
Well, we are going to have more on the royal wedding, much more. You can go to the bank on that. And we're going to see how Southern California is still hoisting a few for Andy and Fergie.
Also, why you could be paying a lot more for cigarettes soon. And we'll see what's in store for us tonight after that spectacular lightning display early today.
And we're going to see how supporters of a local church are fighting a multi-million-dollar court case. All coming up on the 5 o'clock hour.
Attention Alpha Beta shoppers. By shopping at Ralph's instead of Alpha Beta, so far this year you could have already saved more than $180.
The new infield park at Del Mar. When you go to the races, there's only one place to sit that's more fun.
Hi, my name is Paul Gonzalez, 1984 Olympic gold medalist. I was involved in gangs. I walked away. You can too. Do yourself a favor. I did.
When Dwayne F. Snyder, #1 nationally ranked do-it-yourself in the nation, goes on a trip, his first stop is always Track Auto. You have any idea what the temperature's like in the great American desert? Well, let me tell you something, it's up there. You shouldn't be without any of this stuff, particularly at these prices. I mean, where are you going to get a pair of these in the Grand Canyon? Track Auto prices are really tough to beat. I mean, the money I save here, I can take 2 donkey rides down into the canyon. I think I gotta get gas.
Guess what?
I know, it's Chrysler Plymouth clearance time again.
So when you be home for dinner?
Any time now.
I know already. They just sold another Chrysler. They can't be giving them away, can they?
War room. Got it. Hey, boss, they just sold another 100 Chryslers. This week? Whilst I was on the phone. Whilst.
Get a copy of Lee Iacocca's bestseller, free with any test drive at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer today.
Last night's electrical storms left about 75,000 homes and businesses without power in Los Angeles and Orange counties. The rain did help bring a major brush fire in Angeles National Forest closer to control, but lightning strikes started at least 13 other small fires. Power outages were reported in northern Orange County, southeast L.A. County. An amateur cameraman in Palos Verdes captured these pictures. Those thunderstorms triggered flash floods last night in some low desert areas. A lot of water and road damage left to clean up today. Portable water pumps were brought in to help drain some of the roads in Palm Desert. The high water caused a quarter-mile section of sidewalks and gutters to buckle. Concrete was undermined, just folded right up. Well, repair work on that was getting underway. Crews kept one eye on the sky as more sudden cloudbursts were predicted through tonight. There was even a surprise hailstorm in nearby San Gorgonio Pass. And if that weren't enough, aftershocks continued to shake communities near Bishop today after Monday's 6.1 earthquake. And one of the biggest aftershocks registered 4.5 on the Richter scale. That was this morning, but no additional damage was reported. Kelly?
And other news today, hundreds of chanting, drum-banging protesters demonstrated outside the L.A. County Courthouse. They are Scientologists, and they are protesting a $30 million judgment against their church. Vernell Chapman reports.
Religious freedom now! Religious freedom now! Religious freedom now!
Hundreds of Scientologists encircled the county courthouse where a $30 million judgment was handed down against their church.
The judgment was won by a former church member who claims Scientology damaged him emotionally and ruined him financially. Some say the judgment could bankrupt the church.
We are not going to abide by that judgment. And Wallersheim is not going to get one thin dime from the Church of Scientology, that I guarantee you.
Church members have set up a stage and a string of open-air tents where rallies are periodically held. They say their activities are not designed to obstruct justice, but to enforce it.
To deliberately and intentionally attempt to destroy another human being is not protected by our Constitution.
The judgment was won by 37-year-old Larry Wallersheim. He was a Scientologist for more than 10 years. His lawyer says he's been forced to hide from Scientologists ever since the suit was filed 4 years ago.
And it has been frightening.
So even with a new name, he was located?
Yes, he was.
Scientologists say the case is far from over. Wallersheim, meanwhile, is in seclusion in Northern California. Scientologists won't say how long their demonstration will continue, but they say they're confident that their appeal will be successful. Cornell Chapman, Channel 4 News, Los Angeles.
Cigarette smokers might help Congress solve its budget problems, whether they like it or not. The Senate Finance Committee has voted to increase the cigarette tax another 8 cents a pack, and that's going to begin in November. If the tax goes through, it would raise $5 billion in revenues over the next 3 years. And a mixed story on inflation today. It's still low nationwide, that according to new Consumer Price Index numbers. Despite a half-point rise in June, the index is actually 0.2 of a point lower than it was at the end of 1985. However, Los Angeles and Orange counties are not joining this trend. Increasing housing and transportation costs helped drive our consumer prices up 0.6 of a point last month, leaving them higher than a year ago by nearly 4%.
It was that kind of a trade-off on Wall Street today, too. Some early gains faded in late trading on Wall Street, but the most watched average still closed on the upside. That, of course, the Dow Jones Industrials, now at 1798.37 after a rise of 3 1/4 points. The average New York Exchange stock picked up 9 cents. Gaining stocks outnumber losers 8-7. Well, 2 Los Angeles councilmen will have to fight to the finish if the latest redistricting plan becomes official. We will explain that story next.
Plus, we'll get into what's happening to the families forced out of their homes by an early morning fire. Those stories next.
Fill that summer vacancy with a responsible employee who's eager to contribute. Give a student that first break. Call 213-625-6688.
California's never driven a Cadillac like this before. The all-new Eldorado. Driver-oriented engineering that brings the road alive. With a high-compression V8, tenacious four-wheel independent suspension, breakthrough technology. And now breakthrough 6.9% GMAC financing through September 24th. Aim high with Eldorado while interest rates are low. Drive a great tradition that doesn't stand still at your Southern California Cadillac dealers.
Life's finer pleasures, happily, some are affordable. Like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. So fine it's made with wine, like the original Dijon recipe, centuries old. Its classic flavor creates exquisite sauces, enhances beef, enriches salad dressings for taste that's extraordinary. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
But of course. Grey Poupon, one of life's finer pleasures.
She was traveling alone on the Wells Fargo stage. A note was all she had. Her name was Dear. She was on her way to find her long-lost dad. Dear was delivered to Dad's open arms by friends she'd made on the way. Wells Fargo came through for Dear and her dad, and they're still coming through today.
Wells Fargo Bank, still coming through today.
The famous white box with the bullseye, such an important part of Heart's care for millions of dogs and cats. Now the Heart's 2-in-1 long-lasting collar kills fleas and ticks for 5 months, even if it gets wet, and you'll love its low price. Now's the time to put the Heart's 2-in-1 collar on your pet. When your pet's protected, your home and family are protected too. The Heart's 2-in-1 collar, from our family of 2-in-1 flea and tick products, all part of Heart's care. Everything good for your pet.
Still more today on those LA City Council boundaries. The council came up with yet another plan today, setting new boundaries for its council districts. The plan it approved yesterday was vetoed, as you know, by Mayor Bradley just hours later because of concerns that it pitted Asians against Hispanics. That plan placed Councilman Mike Wu in a newly created Hispanic district. Today's plan represents a compromise.
The fundamental rightness underlying this compromise before us today is that the people will decide who they want to represent them. That is what I think is the main advantage of this plan in front of us. It takes away from those of us here in this room that decision.
Now, the plan designed today moves Mike Wu and some of his power base into John Ferraro's district. What that means is that it's likely that Wu will have to run against Ferraro next year in a newly redrawn 4th district. This latest plan will be voted on next week.
Judge Maxine Thomas was on the offensive today. She was recently ousted as the presiding judge of LA's municipal court. Our political editor, Saul Halpert, is in the newsroom with word on why Thomas is speaking out. Saul.
Keith, Maxine Thomas is the first black woman ever to serve as presiding judge of the Los Angeles Municipal Court. But after only 6 months, she's out of that job and fighting to clear her record while she campaigns for election to the Superior Court.
It was a proud and historic moment when 38-year-old Maxine Thomas was installed in January as head judge of the Los Angeles Municipal Court system. That very ceremony bore the seeds of her downfall. She was criticized because the installation cost the county $2,900. Later, other judges complained that she promoted herself and played favorites in the assignment of cases. In May, the County Bar Association rated her not qualified for Superior Court. Last month, her colleagues voted 57-13 to remove her as presiding judge. Today, Judge Thomas fought back, charging she was not allowed to tell her side when she was voted out.
There certainly was an interest in not giving me an opportunity to hear and discuss those rumors so that I might present the true facts. I can only say that the allegations were so false and so outrageous that the people who said them didn't have the nerve to face me and to confront me and to give me an opportunity to respond.
Judge Thomas said she didn't know that printing the installation program cost $1,500, and in any case, she wasn't responsible. Judge Thomas won support from a songwriter with an original entitled Justice for the Judge.
She hasn't even had a chance to tell her side. Let's have some justice for the judge. Justice is what this country is built upon. Let's have some justice for the judge, yeah. Don't let her be muzzled in the land of freedom and free.
Judge Thomas would not repeat the charge in the Los Angeles Sentinel, a black community newspaper, that says she is a victim of racism and sexism. But Judge Thomas did endorse the Sentinel story as a fair and accurate representation of her case. Keith, Kelly.
All right, Saul, thanks very much. Other news tonight, 60 people homeless after fire burned them out of their apartments in Boyle Heights. This happened this morning at the Brooklyn Hotel. 2 people had to jump from second-floor windows to escape the flames. 14 people were hurt. The worst injury was a broken heel. 6 firefighters suffered minor burns. The fire caused $250,000 in damage to that building. Residents were bused to nearby Roosevelt High School, where the Red Cross set up an emergency shelter. Investigators still are not sure just how that fire got started.
Up in Monterey, they're still investigating another suspicious fire. The one today destroyed 2 warehouses on the famous Cannery Row. But none of the tourist attractions nearby was damaged by the flames. When fire crews arrived on the scene shortly after 5:30 this morning, flames were already shooting through the roof. In about 90 minutes, the fire was under control, but there wasn't much left of the warehouses. In the last week, there have been 2 arson fires in the areas, and officials suspect that this one is probably the 3rd.
We're going to go to the weather next. Fritz is over here with a bad case of post-wedding blues. He's going to haul himself up here anyway, and he'll show us some local Fergie fans who are hoisting a few in honor of the new Duchess and Duke. Next.
Japan is waiting to greet you with hospitality. Ride the bird of blue and silver.
Howard's, the people-pleasing people, with 2 block-long showrooms, sell more refrigerators than a lot of the big chain stores. Here's a great buy.
Now, Southern California Edison customers get a big $50 rebate on this deluxe General Electric frost-free refrigerator. It's a GE large capacity 17.7 cubic foot. Howard's low price, including free normal delivery, is just $499.
Howard's, the people-pleasing people, with better prices, better credit terms, better service.
Hello, I'm Ann Lockhart. I'd like to take you on a little tour of the new Alpha Beta. Alpha Beta's changed, you know. For one thing, they've introduced new, lower prices all over the store. You'll find thousands of prices reduced, dramatically reduced, on the things you buy most. You'll also notice a new spirit of service that's going to make your life a lot easier. New savings, new service. Check out the difference at Alpha Beta and tell a friend.
Harry, guess what?
I know, it's Chrysler Plymouth's clearance time again.
So when you be home for dinner?
Any time now.
I know already. They just sold another Chrysler. They can't be giving them away, can they?
War room. Got it. Hey, boss, they just sold another 100 Chryslers. This week? Whilst I was on the phone. Whilst.
Get a copy of Lee Iacocca's bestseller, free with any test drive at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer today.
Fritz has been for lo these many months, of course, our royal correspondent. The wedding is now history. This must be terrible for you.
It is. It's too depressing to go into at this moment.
I'm sure.
Well, it sure was a loud night last night for not only the royal couple, but for everybody around here. Very noisy thunderstorms, which have moved back.
You think the royal couple heard it?
I don't think so. They may hear it tonight, but I don't think they heard it last night.
Oh.
Well, what the heck? Because they're drifting that way.
Yes.
Now, we had about 18... God bless all of us, folks, really. We've had 1/1800ths of an inch of rain at the LA Civic Center, and the storms are back where they belong in the mountains and deserts. They will continue tonight, but we do expect to dry out tonight and tomorrow and for the rest of the week. The worst of it is over. We had just a slight bit of rain in the Civic Center area, but flash flood watches continue in effect for Inyo County. Up there, Death Valley and the Antelope Valley are expected to still get some very heavy rain tonight, with the possibility of hail and lightning, too, so be prepared for it. Now, let's show you Long Beach. Great helicopter pictures today. The bird was up. Look at these guys. This is what they call a trapeze out on the side of the Catamaran. Good way to spend the afternoon. Here are the numbers at 5 o'clock. 77 is the current temperature, barometer 30.03, humidity 56%, winds out of the west at 19. We had a high today of 83 and a low 65. We will warm up, but the humidity will become less and less, so I don't think we'll feel it. Before we go to the national map, you know, we do have a hurricane tracking radar system, and we bought a new piece of software for it to turn it into the honeymoon tracking radar system. I think we'll take a look at it now. Pretty sophisticated piece of equipment. We could tune in a couple of these dials here, and we should be able to pick up the Azores where the honeymoon is taking place this afternoon. There it is right there, and I'm not sure what we'll get. I think we do have a picture of the groom carrying the bride across the threshold, if I'm not mistaken. Just a brief shot, because, again, there she is. And, of course, here they are doing the final preparations in the bridal suite. And we don't have a lot to show you right now. This is a heat-sensitive device, so there isn't a lot to show you as of this point. However, we'll keep you abreast of any developments on the honeymoon tracking radar system. Well, anyway, let's take a look at the national map. First of all, temperatures in the southeast, in that area that has had the drought and the abnormally high temperatures for so long, 3 or 4 weeks, is still where they were yesterday, low in mid-90s. No relief down there. There are showers and thunder showers, though, from the mid-Atlantic states back to the western end of the Gulf states, and that will continue tonight. Let's look at the radar picture to see where they're the heaviest. From the coast of Virginia all the way down to Louisiana coastline. Richmond, Virginia got an awful lot of rain, 2.5 inches of rain in only a couple of hours, and they have some urban street flooding back there. And the southerly flow of air coming up across Mexico, bringing heavy showers and thunder showers everywhere west of the plain states, and that's what's getting us, and but it will continue to get only the mountain and desert communities. Let's look at some temps. We sample these in the early afternoon, and down in the southeast, just about where they were yesterday. Miami 93, Atlanta 96, 89 in New Orleans. Back out our way, 73 in San Francisco, 76 down in San Diego. Well, we do have a southerly flow of air, and the pump that's drawing that moist, unstable air up is a low off the California coastline. That's going to leave. That's real good news. It's going to drift back to the north, be replaced by high pressure, which is more stable air and drier air, so we're going to get fair and warmer as the days go along and dry out, and we'll be back to our typical summertime weather pattern here after not too long. Let's get a look now at the temperatures we expect tonight. They'll be in the mid-60s throughout the valleys, and same for the coastline. And tomorrow's highs will be a little bit warmer, but I think the humidity will decrease quickly, mid and upper 80s throughout the valleys and mid 70s along the coast. And right now, the surf is 2 to 3 at Zuma, and Santa Monica 1 to 2 feet. Newport Huntington 2 to 3, and same for Mission Beach. Little change expected. Boating forecast. Winds are out of the southwest 10 to 16. Partly cloudy skies. And here's the forecast. We'll have partly cloudy skies tonight, and just the slightest chance of rain. Thunder showers will continue in the mountains and deserts. Again, the flash flood watch in Inyo County will be in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. A fair afternoon tomorrow, and quite a bit drier, and I think you'll agree it'll be a lot more comfortable. Let me bring you up to date on Estelle. About 2 hours ago, Estelle was downgraded to a tropical storm. She's only 70 miles an hour. She did what we told her to do and missed the Hawaiian Islands. She went south of the
She listens, see? Women listen to you.
But there still is strong wind and surf situations on the east and south beaches on the Big Island, but not as bad as it could have been, and things are looking better. She's losing strength all the time.
Okay, you'll be on top of that.
All right.
We are going to have more Fergie information
Fantastic.
just for you as this
That'll
program
be coming
wears
in,
on.
that's right. And also, a boy from Orange County who was missing is now found in Denver. We'll have that story. Plus, more of Laurel Erickson's exclusive conversation with convicted murderer Marvin Pancoast. All those stories coming up.
Fred Roggin shows you more stuff on Channel 4 News.
My brother's lucky to be alive. The accident wasn't his fault. The other driver had been drinking. I did the best thing. I got him to the right doctors, and now I'm going to call Jacoby and Myers.
If you've been in an accident and need help from an experienced personal injury lawyer, call Jacoby and Myers. There's no fee until your case is settled, not even our regular consultation fee. When it's time to call a personal injury lawyer, call Jacoby and Myers. Jacoby and Myers, it's about time.
At the Las Vegas Hilton, the best thing about a July package deal isn't basking beside our shimmering pool. It's not the tennis, nor the sumptuous buffet lunch, or the Hilton Showroom Superstar Entertainment, and 2 complimentary beverages. Not even the 3 days and 2 nights in a luxurious room. The best thing is our July package deals start at just $24.50 weekdays or weekends. Call the Las Vegas Hilton, 1-800-732-7117.
Expo 86, the 1986 World Exposition in the heart of Vancouver, British Columbia. 40 nations, 80 pavilions, entertainment, festivals. Expo 86 has it all, and AirCal makes it easier to get there with the only daily direct flights from Orange County and Burbank. For discount fares to Vancouver, call AirCal's single call service, 1-800-4-AIR-CAL. AirCal, we make flying easy.
AIDS patients in prison. 3 years after he confessed to clubbing his roommate to death with a baseball bat, Marvin Pancoast says he doesn't belong in prison. He's pushing now for a new trial on the murder of model Vicki Morgan, a trial that he hopes he'll get before he dies of AIDS. Laurel Erickson joins us now. She's had an exclusive interview with Pancoast conducted behind the prison walls at Vacaville.
That's right, and today, Marvin Pancoast, that is, and Vicki Morgan met at a private psychiatric hospital. That chance meeting of 2 troubled people set into motion one of the strangest tales of sex, drugs, power, and murder that ever took place. You are about to see how a convicted killer looks at the murder of a best friend, a murder he once said he committed.
I didn't kill him.
Marvin Pancoast. Is he a madman, a spinner of fantasy, or the fall guy in a murder involving government intrigue, as his attorneys have claimed all along? Model Vicki Morgan was murdered with a baseball bat. Did her roommate Pancoast do it, or someone linked with her former lover, the politically powerful Alfred Bloomingdale, member of President Reagan's kitchen cabinet?
She was petrified of the administration and petrified of one particular gentleman in the administration, not the president.
The story of Vicki Morgan, her life and death, resulted in 2 bestsellers. The murder trial of Marvin Pancoast created headline publicity. First, Pancoast confessed, then pled not guilty. He confirmed the existence of sex tapes involving Morgan. After this man, attorney Robert Steinberg, claimed to have had them, then charged they were stolen. In prison, Pancoast described the sex tapes for the first time.
Vicki and a couple of politicians in your, I don't know where it was filmed at. I wasn't around when it was done.
You saw it?
Mm-hmm.
Pancoast will tell you he is schizophrenic and maybe a little paranoid. But he denies claims by psychological experts who say the murder of Vicki Morgan was really retaliation against his mother.
No. I failed my mother immensely. I failed her so bad as a son.
Pancoast still blames the media and others for his conviction. He asks why no one could see the good in Marvin. In the meantime, as Kelly said, he is seeking a new trial to prove his innocence before he dies of AIDS. Kelly, Keith.
Thanks very much, Laurel. A critically ill Orange County boy, allegedly kidnapped by his father 2 days ago, has turned up now in Colorado. 8-month-old David Kennedy Jr. was brought to a Denver hospital by a woman yesterday who claimed to be his grandmother. The boy is suffering from a potentially fatal brain clot and a broken leg and arm. Huntington Beach police suspect the boy was a victim of child abuse by his parents. Those parents' whereabouts are still unknown. Kelly?
The mother of those twin babies who died after being left in a car on Sunday was arraigned in Orange County Court today, but not on charges that she caused the deaths of her children. Instead, Beverly Jean Ernst was charged with some kind of violation of a probation that was imposed on her last year. An Orange County judge ruled that Mrs. Ernst should stay in jail, and bail was set at $5,000. The DA's office admits that the probation violation charge will help buy time to build a new case.
We have a lot of witnesses to interview. We've interviewed a great number of them, but we still have quite a few to interview yet, and we don't want to, clearly we don't want to make a snap decision on a matter that's this serious.
They have to file within 48 hours or release her. And the district attorney didn't want to release her.
Mrs. Ernst said she left her babies alone in the car for only 20 minutes, but police believe that the infants were exposed to the 120-degree heat for at least an hour. Mrs. Ernst was arraigned last December. She was convicted last December, I should say, on suspicion of assault and battery after she reportedly bit a policeman at her family's home in Anaheim.
Fred's next, and you know what? He's got a sweater out, and that can only mean one thing. He's going for a walk through his neighborhood. That's nice.
Also, how some news from New York is great for the Angels. Sports coming up.
To be the best takes more than skill. It takes a commitment to excellence. In each of our new Golden Bear Home and Sports Centers, you'll find that commitment. Golden Bear features the world's leading appliances, television, and audio, and the best customer service in Los Angeles.
Get the guaranteed lowest prices in town, plus this $99 Play Anywhere TV free.
Wherever you live, look for a Golden Bear Home and Sports Center near you. Come see our commitment to excellence.
What do you want to do about dinner?
Not cook it.
Aren't you hungry?
Not hungry enough to cook.
Let's go out.
We can't afford to go out to dinner every night.
But we can't afford Coco's succulent lobster tails, a thick, juicy steak, and a crisp green salad. All for just $7.95. Great idea, huh?
I may never cook again. Just teasing. Coco's, it's always a pleasure.
Columbia, 1858.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? You got gold for sale, right? I can give you the best price in California.
Hey, mister, you can get a much better deal over here.
For over 133 years, Wells Fargo's come through with a fair shake for Californians.
$18.50 an ounce. That's what it's worth. That's what I'll pay.
Done. Wells Fargo Bank, still coming through today.
I haven't sold any policies here in Beijing, but I sure sell a lot in California.
Hi, I'm Len from Public Insurance Service, and I want to give you some of the lowest rates in town. But be careful not to confuse us with those agents who just dump you into the assigned risk. So call us now. Get our exclusive low rates. We'll even spread your payments over 9 months. At Public Insurance Service,
Well, Fred, they told us you were going to bring your sweater today, but you look sort of almost normal to
You know,
me.
Mr. Roggin left his sweater at home to come and visit his new neighbors.
Oh, that's
That's all right. We accept you anyway. You're dressed.
Thank you. We'll take a little trip through the neighborhood in just a moment. Off the top, though, the struggling Angels have lost 5 of their last 6, but this afternoon, they actually picked up a half game because Texas lost for the 7th straight time. Here we got a Yankee Stadium, 10th inning, bases loaded, Ron Hassey at the plate, ground ball to first baseman Pete O'Brien. There's a race to the bag. You make the call. Umpire Rich Garcia ruled Hassey was safe at first base. Run scored. Yanks over the Texas 3-2. Much to the disgust of the Rangers, Yanks are now 4 back in the East. In Oakland, Boston's Al Nipper was trying to shake the Red Sox up. They have been having all kinds of trouble. It was tied at 1 in the bottom of the 3rd when Carney Lansford belted a 2-run shot to left center. The A's led 3-1 at this point. They went on to stomp the Sox. The final was 9-2. In the National League, Cubs were taking batting practice at Wrigley Field today. Young Cubs, it seemed to work. Jody Davis sent a rocket out of the stadium in the 6th inning against the Padres today, and the fans on Waveland Avenue got a free baseball. Why buy a ticket to get a souvenir when you can stand out in the street and come up with a souvenir of your own? Now to the 8th with the score tied at 5. Marvell Wynn with a shot to left field. Gary Matthews, great effort here, dove for the ball, but he couldn't come up with it. Bip Roberts came around to score to make it 6-5. Padres went on to snap a 5-game losing streak, 7-5 the final. One other final we want to pass along. Houston beat Montreal 4-3 in 11 innings. Former Dodger Davey Lopes picked up the game-winning RBI. Dodgers are in Pittsburgh right now. The ball game is tied at 2 in the 3rd inning. In football, when you hear the name Tony Dorsett, you envision one of the young stars of the NFL. But Tony Dorsett is far from being a rookie, as our Mike Smith reports.
It doesn't seem that long ago that Tony Dorsett was running people over at Pitt, but with the retirement of John Riggins, believe it or not, Dorsett is the oldest running back in the National Football League.
If you asked me back in '77 would that day ever come to be, I would have told you you're crazy that I'd be the oldest running back in the National Football League. But fortunately, I've been able to survive 10 years and, of course, wear that title.
Dorsett is typical of most of the great ones in as much as he puts team goals ahead of any individual accomplishments. What he'd like to see in 1986 is the Cowboys return to Super Bowl form.
We kind of feel right now we're headed in the right direction, and hopefully we'll win the East again and go a little further in the playoffs.
Another nice thing about returning to Super Bowl form is the recognition factor, and Dorsett kind of enjoys that.
It makes me feel good. I can appreciate kids. I love children. It makes me feel young too, also, to be around those type of people. And anytime I can rub shoulders with some of the future adults of this country, then I'm more than happy to do that.
Mike Smith, Channel 4 Sports, Thousand Oaks.
And the career of another outstanding running back came to an end today. Billy Sims, seen here presenting the Bruce Lee Memorial Award, was decided to announce his retirement. He injured his knee back in 1984 on this play here and was never able to come back, and that is really too bad because he could have been one of the all-time great running backs in NFL history. Last night was a wild one in Major League Baseball. There were arguments, there were brawls, and of course, there were ejections. And to better sort out exactly what happened, let's take a little trip through Mr. Roggin's neighborhood.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor, would you be mine?
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Mr. Roggin's neighborhood. Today, we're going to talk about some grown-ups who blew their stack. Can you say eruption? I knew you could. A base brawl is very dangerous, boys and girls. Grown men running around trying to avoid the battle, but sometimes they get pushed in. Can you say squashed? I knew you could. Other times, these grown-ups get really mad, and they mean it. Look at Ray Knight. Can you say roundhouse? I knew you could. Some players don't like pain. They don't think it's fun getting punched or stomped. They just try to blend in during a fight. Look at Vince Coleman. Can you say camouflaged? I knew you could. That's our lesson on eruptions, boys and girls. Next time, we'll talk about buoyancy. Can you say that?
Could you be mine?
right.
I knew you could. Buoyancy.
Yes,
flipped up and down. We got an update on the Dodgers. They're in the fourth now, and they are leading the Pirates 5-2. We will have highlights for you at 11 o'clock. And next hour, we will talk about the You Make the Call we had yesterday that confused some people.
Yes.
Always
Was
confuses
it right or
me.
wrong?
No question about it. We were right, but we'll have that figured out next hour.
All right.
David Horowitz is up next for us with important news for parents. Those plastic fever strips, they might not be all they seem to be. David will explain.
Them folks at Knott's, they never quit. Now they got an ice skating show with dancing girls, beagle dogs flying through the air, hot dang. What I want to know is where they going to find ice in the middle of the summer.
It's Knott's Superstar Ice Spectacular with special guest star Robin Cousins, July 8th through the 27th, appearing with Snoopy at the Toyota Good Time Theater.
Ooh-wee!
Look, I'm only 35, and the last thing on my mind is cancer. So when the National Cancer Institute said they believe a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer, well, I didn't exactly jump. But then I found Kellogg's All Brand with fruit and almonds, and I started thinking, if I can make changes like getting more fiber now and get apples, raisins, and almonds in the bargain, why put it off another year?
Look for new All Brand fruit and almonds next to original Kellogg's All Brand.
We're 1,000 miles apart, and yet I still can hear your heart. And I know you're not so far from me anymore. For a half a world away, I'm hearing every single word you say, as if you had been singing them from right next door. It sounds the way the love should be, so close that I can almost see your voice come smiling back at me. It sounds like you're right next door.
The magic of fiber optics makes people sound so near you'd swear you weren't talking long distance. So call and find out about the long distance company with more fiber than anyone, U.S. Sprint.
It sounds like you're right next door.
Pediatricians say that a lot of families who have children don't even own a thermometer, and that many of those who do have one don't even know how to use it. But there are other ways to tell if a child has a fever, as David Horowitz shows us in tonight's Fight Back Report.
Thanks, Kelly and Keith. Plastic thermometers called fever strips are an outgrowth of liquid crystal technology. Liquid crystals inside the strips detect variations in skin temperature and change color according to how warm the skin is. Parents and even some hospitals have found fever strips to be a real convenience, especially compared to taking a child's temperature with a conventional thermometer. The main advantage of the plastic fever strips is that they're inexpensive and easy to use. The reusable fever scan strip senses the temperature of the skin on the forehead, and it reads it out as a series of colored dots on the temperature scale. The temp trend works in a similar way, except that it shows actual numbers, in this case 100 degrees. But that's not our patient's real temperature. The light from our camera raised the reading on the strip far above her actual body temperature. A cold room, an ordinary lamp, or hot sunlight could give the same kind of false reading. The companies which manufacture fever strips say they are both accurate and reliable when used as directed. But studies published by a number of medical and pediatric journals have found the accuracy of fever strips unacceptable. In many cases, fever strips fail to detect any body temperature change, even in children, and which were known to have mild or serious fevers. That means a person could have a fever, and the fever strip might not show it. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration says the only reliable way to detect a fever is to measure the temperature inside the body, and not just on the surface of the skin. And for home use, that means a conventional glass and mercury thermometer. Certainly having a fever strip in the house is better than having no thermometer at all, or having one you're not sure how to use. But you should be aware that these strips may not detect a fever every time, and that if you have any doubt about it, check again with a glass thermometer, or get the person to a doctor or someone who knows about medicine and can read the fever accurately, if there is any.
David,
That's
are these strips approved by the FDA?
Yes. Well, they don't have to be approved by the FDA, but the FDA says they're out there and they're being sold as a product. The FDA doesn't have to approve a product like that.
Does the product claim that it's entirely accurate?
Well, no. If you read the directions, it will tell how accurate it actually is, under what circumstances you have to use it. Now, what we pointed out is that if you put it under hot lights, yes, it's going to read a hotter temperature. If it's in a cold room, so you have to know what the parameters are.
So what should it be, in 72-degree temperature or something, you know, specific?
Well, you should do it in a normal setting. In other words, not too cold, not too hot. Room temperature is about 70 degrees, body temperature is 98.6. But you have to be careful when you use these to measure fever because they are not totally accurate. And they tell you that inside the brochures.
All right, thanks very much, David. More medical news. A new vaccine to prevent hepatitis B infections was approved by the federal government today. It is the first time a vaccine produced through genetic engineering has been okayed for human use. The FDA says the new vaccine should also be safer. That is because it is created in the lab, while the old vaccine used blood plasma and ran the risk of being contaminated with AIDS. And speaking of AIDS, medical researchers are warning people who have contact with AIDS patients to be careful. They are challenging the results of a study that concluded it's hard to catch AIDS through non-sexual contact. In letters to the New England Journal of Medicine, several experts are saying much more study is needed before anybody can say how safe it is to be exposed to an AIDS patient.
All right, we're going to go to more royal wedding coverage now, only right here in Southern California. The royal wedding might have been over 12 hours ago, but the celebration is just getting started on this side of the big ditch. Jim Giggins is at the King's Head Pub in Santa Monica right now. It is thousands of miles from the Duke and the Duchess, of course, but
who cares?
As you can plainly see, that doesn't seem to matter to our man, our fearless man in the field, Jim Giggins. Are they drinking Fergie fizzes, Jimmy?
Kelly, I hope you can hear me because you're missing quite a party, you and Pete. The wedding may be over, the pageantry may be over, the royal couple may be on their royal honeymoon, but here at the ye old King's Head, a pub in Santa Monica, the celebrating is continuing. After all, a royal wedding doesn't happen every day. It's been 5 years since the last one, so they decided this was a time for a party.
We live in a grey world. All we hear about is all the negatives, you know, Commonwealth Games and inflation, and this is a positive thing. It's something that's not a negative. It's two people getting married, non-political. It's a happy event. It's a great relief.
At the King's Head tonight, there is, of course, a wedding cake, and there are pictures of Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, his bride, everywhere. That drink you're seeing being concocted there is called the Fergie Fizz, made of champagne and strawberries. Of course, the reason they're celebrating was that spectacular ceremony today, glorious in its pageantry, meticulous in its precision, and the British here felt very proud, and a lot of them said they felt even a little bit homesick. The celebrating is going to go on for hours and hours and hours. It's getting louder and louder, so perhaps I better go back to you in the studio. Jim Giggins reporting live from Santa Monica.
Okay, Jimmy, you know, I think the gentleman was right. The people are hungry for something positive and good, some good news.
They're having a wonderful time. It's great to see them celebrating a good event like that. Well, these are the best years yet for veteran performer Willie Nelson. Up next, David Sheehan with a look at why Willie is bigger than ever.
This good-hearted woman in love with a good time, man.
If you've been searching for the only sparkling water with a squeeze of real fruit juice, your search is over. Arrowhead Sparkling Lemon, orange or lime.
When you go on vacation, criminals go to work. So don't carry cash, carry American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
To really get rid of fleas, you've got to kill them in your home, in your yard, and on your pet. Now get the Rid-A-Bug 3-product total flea control system.
At the Las Vegas Hilton, the best thing about a July package deal isn't basking beside our shimmering pool. It's not the tennis, nor the sumptuous buffet lunch, or the Hilton Showroom Superstar Entertainment, and 2 complimentary beverages. Not even the 3 days and 2 nights in a luxurious room. The best thing is our July package deals start at just $24.50 weekdays or weekends. Call the Las Vegas Hilton, 1-800-732-7117.
This will tickle more than a few people and more than a few memories. Big honors are on the way for comedian Red Skelton. The TV Academy has declined to give Skelton its prestigious Governor's Award, and that will be presented during the Primetime Emmy Awards, which will be telecast in September.
And more kudos for the over 50s set. Pop music, you know, is usually for the younger folks, but David Sheehan tells us about a definitely over 50s singer hitting his stride not only with the youngsters, but with everybody.
This is one guy who is definitely not past his prime. And you know, the so-called prime of life usually hits musical performers somewhere in their 20s and 30s. But as Willie Nelson approaches his 54th birthday, Willie seems to be singing like he has never sung before. Today, for example, Willie is celebrating not a birthday, but the 429th week his old 1978 Stardust album has been on the Billboard Top 100, making it one of the longest-lasting, long-playing albums on record.
You gotta stay all night, stay a little longer, dance all night. Dance a little longer, pull off your coat, throw it in the corner, don't see why you don't stay a little longer.
Good old Willie certainly has stayed a little longer, and then some. That same 8-year-old album has jumped 32 notches on the Billboard sales charts just this month, from number 74 all the way up to number 42, with nearly 4 million copies sold to date. A real tribute to the man who also writes many of the songs he sings. And whether he's writing or singing, the songs of Willie Nelson have a much more universal appeal nowadays than just the country crowd he started with, mostly because he manages to make his music have universal meaning.
Write it down, what you found out, songwriter. Don't let it all slip away.
Even the American Music Awards have acknowledged Willie's colossal crossover from one limited audience to a much more general following of fans, giving him 4 of this year's top prizes, including a special tribute for his Farm Aid benefit concert idea, which had a second edition encore this past 4th of July.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Farm Aid 2.
As of today, well over $10 million has been raised by Willie's Farm Aid concerts to help the nation's struggling farmers. And millions of fans worldwide have been attracted by his concert tours, because when he's live on stage, as he was a couple of months ago here at the Universal Amphitheater, the crowds just keep on coming and Willie just keeps on cooking.
She's a good-hearted woman in love with a good time and man.
The audience is communicating with us at the same time, and we're exchanging a lot of good positive energy out there.
Whiskey River, take my mind.
What do you think it is that's sustaining your popularity, your following over all these years? So many changes in the music business, but yet here you are, still cooking.
I don't know. I think one of the criticisms of our show, I think one time here at this very place, was the fact that our show doesn't really change that much. But the people still keep coming out to hear those same songs, so evidently the people come to hear those songs. But why people like the same old thing, I don't know.
And through teardrops and laughter, they're gonna pass through this world and have this good-hearted woman in love with a good time and man.
I mean, it's like people over 40 aren't so bad anymore or something, huh?
Old people are coming back.
And Willie Nelson will be leading their return. Willie's also, you know, cooking on Farm Aid 3 right now, because the outpouring of gratitude from farmers for that money that he raised, almost $11 million, has just been enormous. It's really touched his heart. The number of farms that he has saved single-handedly, as a result of the people who contributed the money, of course, save those farms from foreclosure is going to be a staggering number. We'll have that later on next week. The number of farms that have been saved by Willie Nelson.
Yeah, he's really dedicated to this project, Farm Aid 3. And he's so mellow. He's really crossed over from country to pop. He's really a down-to-earth human being, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Now tonight, a little
Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson in the story of Nora Ephron and Carl Bernstein, The Other Side of All the President's Men, called Heartburn.
Yes, the thinly disguised story of her divorce, right?
Right,
okay, well, we see you tonight with that. Thanks very much. And that's going to do it for us at 5 o'clock. Thank you very much for watching.
John and Kirstie coming right after the Channel 4 News at 6. Kelly and I will see you at 11. Good evening.
Honey, did you make the payment on the Isuzu?
No.
Did you pay it last month?
I haven't made a payment on the pickup since we bought it.
3 months without a payment? Does the word repossession mean anything to you?
Make your best deal on any new Isuzu pickup, and your first 3 payments will be paid by Isuzu, so relax.
Hey, Mr. Accountant, did you pay the electric bill?
The Isuzu pickup sale. We pick up your first 3 payments. See your Southern California Isuzu dealer now.
Honey, we're gonna be late. Lenny, the wedding?
Strange things seem to happen when C&R has its store-wide clearance sale. With savings of 20 to 60% on suits, sport coats, slacks, and accessories, it's no wonder.
Hi, Daddy. We'll be right there. Lenny, don't do this to me. My aunt flew in from Cleveland, and she's probably done. Oh, I'm starting to break out. You know that.
The C&R store-wide clearance sale is on now. People will go to any length to get there.
C&R?
John Beard, Kirstie Wilde, Fritz Coleman, Weather, Fred Roggin, Sports, and Doug Kriegel, Money Matters. Channel 4 News at 6.
Good evening, everybody. 5 Californians and 2 Libyans were indicted today for selling military transport planes to Muammar Gaddafi's Libyan government. The illegal scheme reportedly paid the suspects millions of dollars. And as Doug Bruckner reports, the planes were built by a well-known Southern California company.
52-year-old Franklin Corcoran tried to hide from the cameras today, but when arrested, he was not covering up an extravagant lifestyle. Corcoran lived in this oceanfront home in Pismo Beach. He moved here from Tripoli, where he had worked for the Libyan National Oil Company. The garage and driveway were filled with luxury cars. The Libyans paid more than $50 million for the 2 cargo planes. This Libyan document from Gaddafi's high command allegedly authorizes payment. The chief of the Libyan armed forces is an unindicted co-conspirator. Gaddafi's government tried to buy these C-130s in 1972, but Washington blocked the deal, and Lockheed still has the planes. Lockheed sold the new C-130s to an alleged front for the ring, supposedly for oil exploration in West Africa. But Lockheed's in no trouble because the company later cooperated in tipping U.S. Customs.
A source in the U.S., in one of the intelligence services, tipped us that he had heard reports that our airplanes had been spotted there.
The route the C-130s took to Gaddafi's airfields was typical of the diversionary trail used by arms smugglers. U.S. authorities say the Libyans plan to convert the C-130s to aerial tankers for mid-air refueling. Doug Bruckner, Channel 4 News.
Hundreds of angry Church of Scientology members have been demonstrating all day outside the L.A. County Courthouse. They're protesting a $30 million jury award in a suit against the church.
Religious freedom now! Religious freedom now! Religious freedom now!
And Wallersheim is not going to get one thin dime from the Church of Scientology, that I guarantee you.
The jury awarded the money to 37-year-old Larry Wallersheim, who had claimed he'd been emotionally damaged and ruined financially by the church. Scientologists say they'll continue their protest until the jury verdict is overturned. They've already asked the judge to invalidate that verdict. The mother of twin infants who died on Sunday after being left in a hot parked car was arraigned in an Orange County court today. Beverly Jean Ernst was charged with violating probation by leaving her children unattended. She was arrested last December for biting a policeman at her home in Anaheim and pleaded guilty to that. Today, she was ordered to stay in jail and bail was set at $5,000. The DA's office says the probation charge will give it more time to develop the prosecution's case. Ernst says she left her babies in the car for only 20 minutes, but police think the infants were exposed to 120-degree heat for at least an hour. A missing 8-month-old Huntington Beach child is in a hospital in Denver tonight. The child disappeared on Monday from a hospital in Orange County. Vicki Vargas reports authorities are searching for the child's parents in connection with the disappearance.
8-month-old David Kennedy Jr. is in fair and stable condition at the University of Colorado Health Center. A woman claiming to be his great-grandmother turned the boy over to authorities late last night, almost 24 hours after he was reported missing. Police are still searching for the boy's parents, 30-year-old David Kennedy Sr. and his wife, Kimberlyn. On Friday, the Kennedys took David to be examined for a hernia at UCI Medical Center. Dr. Ted Benderev said the baby was underweight and showed signs of abuse.
He had an area below the left eye, there was a bruise. And then when I looked at the remainder of the child, he had a bruise also on this side of the face, a bruise on the neck, and a couple of old bruises on the chest and on the back.
After the baby was placed under protective custody, doctors found a potentially fatal blood clot in his skull. 3 days later, while his father was visiting him at the hospital, little David disappeared.
The medical staff felt very comfortable with the parents visiting the child. The parents' demeanor while they were here at the hospital, they were very friendly, very relaxed, and they were nurturing towards the child. So there was no activities what tipped us off that there might be an attempt to remove the child from the hospital.
Today, the boy's father, David Kennedy Sr., was charged with 1 count of child endangerment. Police suspect he is in the Denver area. Detectives are looking for 2 cars which the couple may have been driving. One is a 1984 red Nissan Sentra. The other is an 85 brown Nissan Maxima. It has a personalized license plate that says Kennedy. Police are not saying if they plan to charge the couple with kidnapping. Vicki Vargas, Channel 4 News in the city of Orange.
The LA City Council was back at the drawing board again today, trying to come up with yet another plan to map out new council boundaries. Political editor Linda Douglas reports that this latest plan sets up a dramatic confrontation between 2 incumbents.
It was clear as LA City Council members pored over the newest plan to redraw council district boundaries that the writing was on the wall. Yes, it would create a new Hispanic majority city council district, but would the council's only Asian, Mike Wu, represent them? Not necessarily. In the new plan, Wu and some of his power base would move into John Ferraro's district, probably forcing Wu and Ferraro to run against each other next year.
I'm not particularly happy about running against a colleague.
No one else was happy either, but it was the only solution, since Mayor Bradley vetoed a plan that would have forced Wu to run in the Hispanic district. Ferraro warned tense times were ahead on the city council and warned Wu not to meddle in his district.
I am the incumbent. I will serve that 4th district as if I've served it for 20 years and not just a few months. And I don't want any interference from other members of the council.
Wu said he will speak out on issues in Ferraro's district if he lives there and called the plan to move him there fair.
I think what we have is a stage which is set for a fair contest in front of the people of this district.
Once again, the redistricting plan will have to go to Mayor Bradley, and this time he's expected to approve it. Then the plan will have to go before a federal court judge next week, and there is no predicting how the judge will act. Linda Douglas, Channel 4 News at Los Angeles City Hall.
And another judge, Maxine Thomas, was out fighting to clear her record today. She was recently ousted as the presiding judge of LA's municipal court system.